This conference will now be recorded.
Hi guys, good evening. This is Suresh here. Guys, am I audible? Yeah. And all. Guys, in our session today, we are going to look towards a custom portlet creation completely using the MDF platform without touching any succession data model XML or going to manage business configuration without touching those areas, completely using the MDF platform itself. We'll start how to build a new custom portlet. Okay. So for that, we have some sequence of steps to follow. Let me just open one document for that. Just a second. Any specific questions from anyone on the previous topics in the meanwhile? Okay, just give me a second. Document is opening. Okay. So this is a sequence of steps that we follow whenever we want to create a custom portlet using MDF, guys. So today the example that we'll take is the one yesterday, as I mentioned already, the assets one. If the company wants a portlet to maintain all the details of the various assets that the company has given to the employee, like the laptop, data card, company mobile, company car, whatever. So if you want to maintain all that details, so you need a portlet in which it should accept multiple records. It should accept multiple records. I might be issued with laptop, but also a mobile and a company car. So three things. Three things are to be recorded. It's not just one record. That is a portlet which will have multiple records accepted in it. Such a way, we need a portlet. Okay. So in that case, we are actually required to create two objects, guys. Two MDF objects. Actually, it doesn't work with only one single object. Two objects are required. So why and all you will understand by the end of this session. So the first step, we take that activity of creating the objects. Whatever are the two MDF objects that we want, we create it. So basically, what is this MDF object? Is nothing but a set of fields. What finally expecting to have on your portlet, in the people profile portlet, when you are trying to maintain a record of the asset given to the employee, what all fields should come in the portlet? The name of the asset, the date of given, the date on which it has been given, quantity of assets given. Say if it is mobile, how many given? If it is car, company car, how many given? Or laptops, how many given? Whatever, you can have a quantity field. Okay, and you can have nature of asset. Is that an automobile or it's an electronic or some other normal stationary item? You can have some nature of asset. And then the last one, you can also have the expected date of return, kind of some whatever are the customer specific requirements, we can add some fields. So like that, taking some 4 5 example of fields, I'll create one portlet. Okay, so during that process, for on the portlet, finally whatever are the fields that we want to have is what we will create here under the MDF objects, guys. Okay, and once we have the portlets creation done, is where we can design the UI of our portlet. Finally, when you're entering the data in the portlet on the people profile, how should that people profile fields, how should that portlet be looking like? The order of the fields, okay, the alignment of the fields, whether they should appear in a vertical manner or a horizontal manner, all that things. So without any programming, any designers, any technical consultants, within the success factors, we as a functional consultants, whatever extent SF has given the options, we can design the UI on the front end, how the portlet should appear. So that is the create configurable UI as an option. And after this, once the UI screen is also ready, guys, now we are required to bring that onto the people profile. You are working on some other screens. You have designed a UI of your screen that has to be appearing on the people profile finally. So that UI what you have created, we need to place it on the people profile. So that is where we call it as custom employee view. So we are required to create a place on the people profile to host our custom portlet. For that portlet, we are required to give the permissions. Once there is a new portlet on the people profile, if a user has to see that, you should be given permissions for that. So that permissioning is what we'll handle in the fourth point. So whoever are given the permissions, they can start seeing that portlet, and in that portlet the entries can be made by the users. So this is how we have a 5-step sequence of process, where particularly permissions point here just to highlight. So whenever we are going into this profile, guys, my employee file or the profile, so you see multiple sections of information, multiple portlets, all that. So if we are seeing all these sections, portlets, means we are given permissions. We are given permissions for that. That is why we are able to see. It's not that by default it will be visible to everybody. So what all permissions, what all sections under that section, what portlets you are authorized to see is what that is controlled through permissions actually. So that's why now if I create a new section or a new portlet, anything, permissions are to be allocated, then only people will able to see that. Okay. So that is the way. So now on this people profile screen, the process of creation of a new portlet is what we are going to look towards. Let me start those steps. So first thing is, as I told you, we are required to create an MDF based, a tool completely based on MDF. So that's first step, where we are required to create MDF object. And yesterday and day before yesterday, when we are discussing about custom layer based association, that is subdivision, that is also a custom MDF object. Now what we are going to create is also a custom MDF object, but that MDF we used for foundation data. But today what we are creating, we are going to use it for employee data. That is what I mentioned at the end of our session yesterday here. So custom for standard foundation objects, standard MDF foundation objects, custom MDF foundation objects, and now we create a custom MDF employee data portlet like this. Okay. So, and as per this step, MDF place, where should we create the MDF objects, guys? Anybody? Where should we create the MDF object?
Object definitions.
Exactly. MDF objects are handled in object definitions. Configure object definitions. This is a place. So yesterday, even when we created that subdivision, this is a place under configure object definitions. We created it. So on the right hand side, we went to this create new object definition. Create new object definition. From here, we created a new object called subdivision. Even now, I'm going to create a portlet using the same object definition. And here in this object, what all fields I will decide to have will be the fields that I see on the people profile portlet. Yesterday, when we created subdivision, what all fields we see here are appearing in the manage data. When I created a new subdivision called a new subdivision 1, subdivision 2, subdivision 3, in manage data, what fields should come that are designed here. But today, whatever fields you define here are going to come in the people profile portlet. So how is that done is what we are now going to look towards. The first thing is, here, as I told you, we are required to have two objects, guys. One object will not be sufficient. We are required to create two MDF objects. That is, whenever you are maintaining multiple records, so employee was given with a laptop, he's given with a mobile phone, with the data card, whatever multiple entries we want to maintain. So entries, in which portlet the entry should be there, it will be one object, and all these entries are against one employee number. That employee number will be in one object. The main root is the employee number. The primary key is the employee number in the parent object, and in the child object we can have all the remaining fields regarding the assert details. So that way we are required to create two objects actually. So once I create it, in the next 10 minutes you'll have a clarity. So the code is, say, custom asserts parent, I'm just giving it, and ending with March 9th. Okay. So custom asserts parent object March 9th with today's date. I'm just saving it. And effective date. Yes, of course, we need the effective dating. So whenever there is a record that has been given to the employee, and whenever there is one, laptop or any asset given to the employee, we need to capture the date on which it was given. So you definitely require the dates, effective dating. That is what we keep it as yes. So when you keep it as basic, immediately system will add this date field. So by default, when we are starting to create the MDF object, external code and external name will be the two common fields that will by default appear in any MDF object, guys. On top of it, the start date will be added when we have this effective dating as basic, as we already saw under division, subdivision. And API visibility, yes, we can keep it as editable, so that through integration, if the data in this portlet has to be integrated with any other system and all, that will be useful. And status, of course, as active. And here you should give the name of the portlet. Finally, on the front end, with what label this portlet should appear is what you're going to give. I'm going to give it as asserts March time. One second, guys. Okay, assets March 9th is the label of the portlet I'm going to give it. That's it. So the code of the object, the effective date, the API, and the label. These four parameters, same like for the subdivision that way we have added. And then here in the fields, we want to work on these fields which are standard by default given. So in the previous object subdivision level, we use this code for subdivision code, name for subdivision name, like that. Similarly, in the standard objects also, if it is a department object, department code, department name, like that, everywhere code and name are there. But this time, this MDF object, we are not going to use it as foundation. We are going to choose it as employee data related. So in this, what we are going to store is employee data. That means now the code will obviously be the employee code. Against employee number 1, what are the assets given? Against employee number 2, what are the assets given? So the code is the employee number. So for that, guys, a very important critical point here is the data type of this external code field, which is mentioned as string. You are required to change it as at last you have something called as user, the data type as user. You are required to change it to user. So whenever we make this code field as user, system will now automatically turn this MDF object as a employee data portlet. Okay, until you do this conversion, until you change the data type to user, this is an MDF object which can be used either for foundation or for employee data, anything. But once you decide this as user, that means this object can store only employee related information. Like the way you created subdivision 1, subdivision 2, all that, you can't create general data in it. Any data that you store in this object is going to have only the employee relevant. The first code field should be the employee number. That also you cannot give whatever employee number. In this system currently, what are the active employees? If there are 100 active employees, system will take only 1 to 100 as the number in this. If it's to 1000 employees, 1 to 1000 only it will take, like that. So that is the user. So making this data type as user will automatically convert this newly created object into a portlet. So in the sequence of steps in this guide, when you see along with these 5 steps what we are required to do, only for this particular step there is one more slide given which will clearly mention create a new MDF object and make sure that the data type you are changing to user for the external code field. That's a very important point. They even highlight with the exclamation. It's an important one. Then add whatever other additional fields you want to add and save the object. That is what we are doing here now. Just give me a moment. Yeah, so that way we have already have the standard field where the first one, the external code field, we change it to user. That is the first thing we are required to do. On top of it, now whatever you want to do with the other fields, you want to have these fields or add additional few more fields, it's up to you. In that regard, external code is employee number, means external name is obviously the employee name. Okay, so wherever you are having the employee number, it's not required to maintain the employee name again. Against employee number 1, this is the asset given. That if you maintain that, it is enough. Employee number 1, Suresh, this is given. Employee number 2, Ramesh, this is given. You need not give the employee name multiple times. Okay, so name field is not required when you are working for portlets. So I just delete it. External name field has been deleted. So code is what that is going to store the employee number and the date on which the asset has been given. These are the main things I want. In the parent object, that is what we are expected to have. Asset parent March 9th in this object. That's it. And other fields, whatever we want, the name of the asset, the quantity of the asset given, nature of the asset, all that you can create in a other child object, which can have multiple entries created for that. That is, so now with this we will stop this, where we are required to make sure again the secured is set to no, guys. So that same like in the yesterday's subdivision, we kept this secured to no. Here also keep this secured to no, so that it will not disturb us with permissioning. But what is this fourth point permissioning is different. This fourth point of permissioning is different. This object level permissioning is different. So this we keep it as no, and just go to the bottom of the screen and save it. So we have now saved it, guys. We created a one object, custom assets parent March 9th, which is once. Is it audible? Hello?
Yeah, audible.
Yes. Okay. Not sure it's getting muted. Okay. So guys, what I'm saying is now we created one parent object in which the concentration is only the employee code, external code field, which we'll use as the employee number, and the date, the start date on which date the entry or the record has been given to the employee. That is what. Okay. Once we save with these two fields, obviously there are a lot of other MDF system fields that got added automatically. We know that MDF object level system will add some technical fields automatically, which will not appear on the front end. Only these two are the fields. That is a parent object. Now, keeping this as it is, we are required to now create another object. Again, same one more MDF object, but this time it is called a child object, which will have the actual fields on the portlet, whatever you want to have, like the name of the asset, the nature of the asset, the quantity of the assets given, all that. So in this configure object definition, we will create one more object definition, create new. This time I mark it as the child object. So it is custom asset underscore child underscore March 9th. Okay, it's a child object. Now what is the effective dating is we should not use basic now, guys. We are required to use it as from parent. In the parent object, whatever is the date option has been chosen, that should reflect also in the child level. So from parent is what we choose. Whatever pop-ups come, just confirm them. Effective dating as from parent. And API visibility even for the child, keep it as editable. And here you are required to give the label. So whenever you are maintaining the entries, so main portlet label is what you have given with the parent object. The main portlet label is this assets as a portlet. That's the main portlet label. In that, within that portlet, it will be a section with multiple entries that will be shown, guys. So that is what the list. I can keep it as assets list. Whatever are the assets given to this employee as a list, assets list as the child object, I can maintain it. Okay, 1 second. So assets list. So this is the four attributes that are required: code, effective dating, API visibility, and the label. Same things what we maintain in the parent object also: code, effective dating, API visibility, and label. But in the parent object, as usual, it will be basic, whereas in the child object level, it will be as from parent. That is the one. And now coming down, even in this MDF custom object also, the second one here also, the code and name are by default added automatically. So this code is now already employee code you have given. The employee code is in the parent object. Now again in the child object, what is the code is for every employee when there is asset being given. So employee number one is given with one laptop. Employee number one is given with one mobile. So like that, for every entry being made, internally system will generate one reference number, guys. For every asset given to an employee, internally one reference number will be auto generated by the system. That will be stored in this external code. So that is where here this time the data type we are required to change for the external code field as auto number. Auto number is system automatically generates a number, a reference number, in the background a unique number. For every asset given to every employee, a unique different number will be allocated in the system. That doesn't this is not, we need not involve in it, it will automatically take care. System keeps on upgrading the new number. And now external name field. So what is the, now if it is a if this is a code of the item given to the employee, then the external name is nothing but the item name, that is the asset name. So here this external name field, you can give the label of it. If you go under the details, you can give the label of this field as asset label, asset name. You can call it as asset name, guys, like this. Done. That's the first field, asset name given. So this is a unique number given for each and every asset allocated to the employee. This is the name of the asset, and now I can have the nature of asset as one more field. I can add it. Now one more line item gets added. Here I'll add it as quantity of assets given to the employee, and after that I'll give one more field like expected date of return. Expected date of return of the asset, EDOR something, EDOR, expected date of return. Like this, I'm adding few fields. Okay, so now here I can have the length of the fields, the data type of the fields and all. So here the data type of the nature of the asset, I want to have a free, is a string field. A string is a free text. It can have alphabetic, numeric, alphanumeric, anything. It's a free text field. And the nature of asset means we can have it as like electronics, automobile, some wording. So which will be not more than 100 character or 128 character. You can give it. SF standard gives 128 character. We can go ahead with the same format. 128 character, that is more than enough. Okay, next you have quantity. Quantity is, I don't want in my organization any asset to be given not more than 9 items. Company mobiles, or even if it's a company stationary items like notepads, anything, we are not allowing them to take more than 9. So at any point of time, only the length of that field will be numeric digit 1. Maximum length is 1. That is, maximum number that you can enter in that field is 9 as a quantity. At one point of time, maximum 9 only you can give. If you want to enter 10 also, it should be 2 character length. I'm giving only 9, only 1 as the length, so it can accept maximum value as 9, that way. And obviously it is a number field. Here we'll have a data type as number, guys. Keep it as number. It's a quantity field, which is a number field, like that. Next, expected date of return. It's a date field. So here the data type, you are required to change it as date. Keep it as date. In this field we can enter the dates actually, like that. So number field is fine. For date field, you need not give any length of the field, guys. Automatically the 10 characters is a standard one, system will automatically take. So two characters for month, 2 characters for date, and 4 characters for year. That will become to 8, and 2 separators, that slash or hyphen separators. So that is what total 10 character length system will automatically take. We need not maintain it manually. So these are the fields. For these fields, length and data type are fine. The labels, what should appear on the front end also, going under the details, you can label it. So nature as nature of asset. Go under details. Here under the label, write it as nature of asset. Nature of asset given to the employee. Next, quantity. Give the label it as quantity. Quantity issued, kind of. Quantity issued. And then we have the expected date of return. So go expected date of returning. So is where on which date employee will return it. So I can give the label. Okay, some fields. So like this, I've added 3 custom fields. One standard field itself I'm using already for asset name. Okay, so like this 4 fields, their length, their data types, their labels internally, all that is defined. Okay, that's it. So from the top, these properties are same, like how you maintain for the parent object. Even for child, the 4 attributes are required to maintain, but effective datum for child object you keep it as from parent, and what all fields you want to decide it. Where external code field this time here is an auto generated number that will be allocated for every asset given to the employee. A unique different number will be allocated. That's an auto number, and the name of the asset, nature of the asset, all that fields. With these fields, now just go to the bottom, extreme bottom, and save this. In this object, secured will be automatically set to no, guys. As the parent is set to no, automatically change to child also will be set to no automatically. So here, if you go for save, finally, the two objects are created. In one object, you are only having one field called as the code of the employee and the start date on which the record has been given. That's it. The remaining all the fields are in the child. So now we are required to connect these two objects. We are required to connect these two objects with an association, and here both the objects what you are connecting are same objects. Both are asset related. When you are working on associations in the foundation objects, you are connecting division and department, business unit and division, like the different objects you are connecting, then we used valid when. But now when you are connecting similar objects, that is both are asset related, fields are divided among them. So now when you are required to connect it, here we use composite association, but in valid when association between parent and child, you go to the child level, the bottom level object you go and link it with the parent. But here it's a reverse. You are required to go to the parent object. In the parent object, link it with the child object. So if you scroll to the bottom, once all the fields of the parent object are done, you will have association area where you can you can give some name to the association, like so connect to child, something to child. Multiplicity obviously one too many, because under one employee number multiple assets can be given. And destination object is what I give it as the assets list. Assets. Okay, I have to refresh the screen, guys, because after this object I created this object. System is not bringing it. I have to refresh. And again, to child is the name of the association. One to many as the multiplicity type, and destination object as asset list. Asset list is the child object that we created. So this is a parent current object. This is a parent object, child object. Asset list. So that is what we created here. Asset list as a child object. So that is selected here. With the type of association as composite this time. Okay, composite association we are connecting. And now go to the bottom of the page and save it again. So previously we just added the fields and saved it. Now we linked the parent with the child level and we saving it. So with this, the MDF object creation process will be done. So whenever you are required to create a custom MDF portlet, that portlet should accept multiple records in it. So that main records, the main records, what are the main fields, what are relevant to be repeated multiple times, name of the asset, nature of the asset, all that fields you are required to give it in the child level object. The main field like the employee number is fine. Against this employee number only different assets are there. So you need not repeat the employee number multiple times. Against employee number, these are all the records. So that employee number related, which will come just once on the top, is what you keep in the parent level, like that. So parent level, we have this employee ID as a main field, and the other fields coming here under the child object level, the name of the asset, nature of the asset, all that, and rest are the MDF system fields. By default they get added. So with this creation of two objects and linking the both the objects using the composite association will be the first step that we do all this, guys. In this 5-step sequence process, this is the first one, working on the MDF object. Okay. Any questions still here?
Yes, Suresh, I just wanted to know why we have taken composite. I just forgot what is the definition of composite.
Composite is all about whenever you are trying to connect objects of a similar nature, you use composite association. Okay. So both these as child are the same objects. Okay, so it's not that when parent is there, child has to be, it's nothing like that. The same object related fields you divided. Couple of fields you kept in the parent, rest of the fields you kept in the child. The fields which are to be repeated multiple times, you kept in a child object. So whenever, even if in the interview level, anytime you have this question, when do we use composite association to connect objects of similar nature, that too in the child level object, we keep those fields which should repeat in multiple times, that is multiple rows. I have employees laptop given, data card given, company car, company mobile, multiple entries I repeated. So that fields we keep in the child object and we associate through composite. Okay.
Okay, yeah, fine. Thank you.
Yeah. So the next step is UI creation. For the MDF object that you created, now the UI, how do you want that portlet to appear on the front end is what you can design, guys. That is very easy and interesting, where you just search in with the keyword as this UI. In the top search area, just search with the keyword as UI. You get this manage configuration UI. Here you can create your own UI. Just go for create new. You can, UI is nothing but the screen, guys. User interface. The screen is what you're going to design. So just go for create new. That is where system will ask you now the screen what you want to design based on which object. What is your base object? That is the asserts related object newly what we have created March 9th, asset March 9th, today's object. Select that. Immediately system will give you the standard layout as per the fields what we have selected, the way how we clubbed up the parent and child. With that, the standard layout will be automatically given. This is the portlet name asset March 9th. These are the two fields, external code and the start date. That is the employee number and the start date, which is in the parent level. In the child level, these are the fields. Name of for every record, there will be one unique number that will be generated, auto-generated. Name of the asset, nature of the asset, quantity issued to the employee. And if you click on one more, few more fields will also appear, which is the expected date of return, that is also appearing. Like this, you have the UI standard layout what SF will automatically give us. This is the way. So in the main container, the dotted container that you are seeing here, that is a main portlet. In that, this is a child portlet, like that. Okay. Whereas now, whatever is the name of the association that we have given, to child is association name that we have given, guys. So that is what that is going to display here on the front end here under this. So now if you want to relabel this with a proper meaning, not to child, you want to keep it as asset list, go for properties. Again, as this small, this sub container, when you mouse over on it, you have this toolbar that comes up. Under this, just go for edit properties and you can maintain the label of it. Instead of to child, relabel it as asserts list. That's it. Click on done. The asserts list has a section that comes up, the subheading for that. Now in this, currently 1 2 3 4 fields you are able to see, guys. One more field is their expected date of return, that is not appearing. So if you want that to be also seen, go for edit properties. Again, here you have the visible fields count as 4. That is only 4 fields are visible. If I keep it to 10, how many up to 10 or how many fields are there, everything will appear. So now the expected date of return, the 5th field is also appearing. Previously only 4 are allowed, the other one is not appearing. Now all the 5 are appearing. And now all these fields are horizontally appearing. If you want these to be vertically displayed from top to bottom, then again under this sub container, go for the edit properties. Here you have the option of layout. Set this layout as form, guys. Form means it's a kind of an application form, top to bottom. All the fields will be aligned in the form layout. Click on OK. System will immediately change the UI. The fields which used to appear horizontally, change it into vertical layout like this. This is the way. If you keep it to properties as flow layout, it will again change it to horizontal. Flow and form is what we use. So form is mostly used real-time level, which will basically bring this vertical manner, more easy way to fill the details. This is the way. You can use whatever you want. Okay. And now here that fields, 3 fields to appear, 4 fields to appear. Here when you choose it as say number of fields to appear as only 3, guys. So only 3 will appear and you will get this show more as an option. When you click on show more, other fields will appear. When you click on show list, they will be collapsed. Only 3 will appear. So the main output, the front end example of this is the job information portlet, gentlemen. So whenever there is a portlet which is having more number of fields, here for 5-6 fields that doesn't make any difference, but when there are portlets like job information which are having 30, 40, 50 fields, so those many fields, all the fields, if you show it on the people profile, so there will be huge scrolling on this portlet itself. So if I go for this job information portlet here, under this, currently now there are 15 fields appearing. 7 fields this side, again 8 fields this side, total 15 are appearing. So when I click on show more, the other fields also come up here. They get expanded like this. System is expanding like this. Lot of fields are there. Double the fields what you initially saw, double or more than that you are seeing it. You can click on show list, system will again collapse it. So that way system is able to show minimum fields initially. When you click on show more, then only it will expand the other fields. So for such kind of behavior, this will be useful, guys. The subcontainer level, how many fields you want to display, how many not to display, kind of. So for the small portlet, that doesn't make any difference. That's okay. 5 or 6 fields, it's okay. That is the way. And one more is you can also have collapsing option. That is, here under edit properties, you have this collapsible as yes or no. If you keep it as yes, guys, collapsible as yes, here you have this under assets list, you have a small collapse icon. You can expand and collapse like this. The fields can be expanded or collapsed like this. You have this option assets list. So these are the different UI options that you will get, guys. And then if you want to add an hyperlink here, so there are 5 fields, input fields, out of which you want to add one link field, a URL onto the screen. So if I just click on this add link, so it's one more hyperlink kind of a field that comes up. So what should be the link text that should be displayed, and when you click on it, where it should redirect, you can choose that. So if you just go for this edit icon, so here you can see that SF by default given its redirection to successfactors.com, and the link display text is present here. This one you can change it as SF site. Successfactors.com, it is redirecting, right? So I'm just giving the link as SF site. Click on OK. So here SF site is a hyperlink. On the portlet, if you want to have these kinds of hyperlinks, you can even do that. And here you have an option to add a field, but it is not recommended to add a field here. Every time it is recommended, if you want to have any field, go and create in the base object level, the object what you have created already. There, along with the other fields, go and create your fields whatever you want, then come for the UI creation. All the fields will automatically come up here. The way when we as soon as we choose the base object, system has given the layout automatically. That is a more recommended way, instead of you again maintaining this field here. Okay, if you manually maintain field here, you are required to link it with the backend field again. So here nature of the asset, all these fields are connected here. Value type resolver is something, it is connected to that custom object what you created in the background. Okay, so now if you add a custom field manually here, there again you are required to go and add a field manually, and you are required to link them manually using that resolver and all, which are chances of having some issues being created. To have it in a non-issue way, you can easily directly go and add a object there, a field in the object there, that will automatically come here when you start designing your UI, instead of coming here and adding the fields. Okay, and you have one more thing called add group. Add group means this dotted lines what you see is a group, guys. So we are calling it as a main container, subcontainer kind of. It's technically called as a group. This is a main group, this is a subgroup. In the main group, these 2 fields are there. In the subgroup, this is the one having these 5 fields and one URL field 6. Now even in this, if you want to make any grouping, so just click on add group. There is one more group added. In the child group, one more child group added, where if you want to have the expected date of return and the day quantity issued in a separate block like this, you can drag and drop like this. So by default, when you add a group, one default input field will be added. You can just remove it like this. It's like multiple grouping you are doing internally, which is very rarely required. So this is the one where this is the same layout what we see in the job information portlet, guys. So in the job information portlet, if you see job information portlet level, first initially there are few fields displayed, and then when you expand, there is one more subsection like time information heading coming up, and here are some set of fields. End of the day, everything is in the job information portlet only. For such kind of within the portlet, if you need to have a separate set of fields, these are some set of fields, these are some set of fields, but all belong to one portlet. In that case, we use this kind of a thing, grouping, multiple grouping. Okay, so if not required, just remove it, delete it. The fields will, oh sorry, fields got deleted. 1 second. Okay, anyways, so that way we can just have the additional groups and we can just group some fields into that. So now I'll just recreate this quickly. Create new base object March 9. This is the one where I go for edit properties, keep this visible fields to 10, collapsible as yes, and layout as form layout. Click on OK. This is how the fields got added. We added a hyperlink field where for that successfactors.com is the default SF given redirection. I'll just keep it as SF site. Okay, so this is all what we saw. So this way you can design your portlet layout. Once you decided the fields in the object, that is the main task. How do you want that to be displayed on the front end? Designing that is a very small thing. It's all about trial and error. You have multiple options under this edit properties. All these are the commonly used options that I introduced now. So with all these options, you can design your UI and you can create this portlet on the front end. You can get this layout onto the front end. Okay, and the name also, the label, assets list, this way. And now for this screen, what you have designed, you can give an ID, guys. I'll just keep it as portlet underscore March 9th something. This is a screen ID and save this. So with this, the second step, creation of the UI of your portlet is also done. Finally, this screen, what you have designed in this UI transaction is where you are required to take it to your people profile and place it on the people profile. So on the people profile where you are already having all these other portlets, guys, other portlets, various sections and portlets. Now within any of the existing section, you can have your portlet also added, add one more subsection and add a portlet, or else for your custom portlet, you can come up with a separate section altogether also. So that is where we are required to now bring one more additional section and bring that custom portlet into that section. Okay, so for that, where should we go and work, guys? On this people profile, if I have to add one more new portlet, where should I go and work for that?
Business configuration.
Okay, your answer is business configuration. So let us investigate in the reverse way. What is business configuration? It's a front end of succession data model. That is, succession data model is all about XML coding. So our MD of this topic itself is about don't use XML. Okay, so succession data model and managed business configuration has nothing to do here. So what I have been asking, if you clearly read my question, now along with these existing sections, I need one more section. Where do we work on these sections, guys? If I want to relabel this, where should I do
Employee
this?
profile.
Sorry?
Profile, right?
Configure people profile, the
People
place where we
profile, yeah.
layout of this page. The place where we handle the entire layout of this page is configure people profile. So configure people profile level, you can't deal with portlet. That's why portlet related anything we worked in other places and we are coming now. Finally, to place it here, again, that is a layout specific. Configure people profile can help us here. So initially, when you saw this, employment information, personal information, compensation information, these are all the existing sections, existing subsections, portlets. But now is the place, is a time where you can even add one more custom section what SF did not give. Go to the extreme bottom and you have an option called add new section, guys. Here if you click on this add new section, system will add one section as untitled. Here you can give the label of your section. I want to give it as something as company assets as a section. Under that you want to have a subsection. So subsection, I want to give it as just assets as a subsection. And here I want to have my screen, the custom created screen placed here. So how do I do that is, till now, whatever are the portlets coming in, we know that they are all the portlets coming from succession data model, and they are categorized here under talent portlets, employment information, personal information, comp information, all this. Where any portlet you want to have, you just drag and drop it. Whatever portlet you want to have, drag and drop it. That is being placed here. That is how we saw it. Now I want a portlet, but which is not of any of these areas, which is not a standard one at all. Okay, not employment, not personal, not compensation, anything. It is a custom one. At the bottom you also have a place for custom portlets, custom blocks. Under these custom blocks you have MDF related block, live profile MDF information. Live profile is nothing but people profile. They can also call it as live profile. So MDF information, it's an MDF based portlet. So drag and drop this here into this. But this is not the actual portlet what you are trying to place here. It's a container. It is an MDF container. It can display any MDF screen. You design the screen and tell me what screen to display here. This is a projector kind of. That is where it's a live profile MDF information is one container in which what screen to be displayed here. Immediately your system will show you the MDF screen ID, a drop down of all the different screens what are created through that manage configuration UI. In that, this is portlet underscore MAR9 is what we have designed the screen ID. So here in this manage configuration UI, this is a screen ID I have given. So that is what that has been linked here, portlet underscore MAR9. So finally, when we save it and see this portlet on the front end, under this section, there is one portlet called that company assets, whatever it will display there with the screen what you have designed, it will appear, guys. So this is how you do your third step, creating a custom employee view. Custom employee view is nothing but employee section. On the people profile, these top headings, what you call as sections, there is another terminology for that also called as views. You can call it as a section or a view, anything. So in some documentations, they also refer it as view actually. So that is why they have kept here as custom employee view. So that's nothing but end of the day, a custom section created with your custom portlet. That is the one. So now you've done it, and you can, now it is in the last place, company assets. If you want that to be brought to the first place, you can drag it. You know that you can select these menu lines and you can drag and drop it like that. You can do it. So let me just leave it here and save it. So now once we save this, guys, a custom one more section here. Once this is saved, even if you refresh your people profile, that newly added section will not appear directly. So it's saved successfully now. But even if I refresh this people profile screen, at the ending here, that new section called assets will not appear. Company assets as a section will not appear. That is where for every section you are required to give the permissions. What sections you are permitted to see, only that you will be given. So in the permissions, you are required to give an access to that newly added section as well. That is where we work on the permission roles. So if you go for manage permission roles, so under permission rules, employee central related, we have three categories, guys. User level permissions, three categories we have. So I'll just show you. One category is something we already saw the other day. In the job information portlet, if you add one custom field called subdivision, you are required to go to that permissions and select the permissions for that newly added field. So that is one area where EC core portlets related field level permissions will be given. That is one area, which is here under the name of employee central effective dated entities. You had it field level permissions for personal information portlet, for job information portlet and all. In this we have given the permission for that subdivision field the other day. Employee central effective dated entities, that is the core portlets of EC. Once you scroll down, you have one more thing called employee views. That is nothing but the custom view what we created. Employee views, here on the right hand side you have the list of all the views. So they keep it here as employee views and section, anything employee views section they say. So here all the sections are there. In that, company asserts is the additional one that we created now. For that also you are required to give the permission. If you select that permission now the system will show me this newly added section also on the people profile. Employee views, specifically you have this, what all checkboxes you select, that sections will appear. Click on done, save changes. So now once this is saved, if I refresh my people profile, you will see that newly added section with that portlet that will appear on the people profile here, guys. Just I'm refreshing this. So now after the talent profile, there is one more section that comes up in this name of company assets here in the list. Company assets, one more new section got appearing. When I click on it, system will automatically scroll me to that area of the page. So this is the portlet name, this is a subsection name, and if you want to make an entry, click on edit and start entering the assets. This is the root, the parent object level, two fields we have, employee number and the start date. So the date is there, but employee number will not appear on the front end because already against Anya Singh you are maintaining this record. So that already Anya Singh profile, we already know that this is Anya Singh's account. So again, it will not display the employee number. That will be internally in the record database level, it will store, but it will not appear on the screen. So employee number will not appear, only the start date will appear in the parent object. In the child object, these are the set of fields which we can collapse like this. So for every asset given to the employee, there will be one unique code that will be auto generated, which will be non-editable. You can't fill it, system will auto generate that number. The name of the asset, say if you are given with a laptop, company laptop, say the nature of the asset as electronic, quantity issued as 1. Even if I want to enter some 19, all this, it says this error, guys. So if you enter, so if you see the system is throwing you an error, it is automatically clearing off whatever I'm entering, it is clearing off. Quantity issued is too long, exceeds the maximum of 1 character length. That is the error it is displaying. Okay, it will automatically remove it. Okay, and the expected date of return is on the date of issue itself. Say example, employee is expected to return exactly 1 year later from this date. So 2022 he has to return something. If you want to maintain, you can something and save this. So this is the set of fields. For in this external code field, once you save, system will generate a number that is appearing here. A unique number has been assigned for this, for employee Anya Singh. When the laptop has been assigned, this is the this is the code that has been given. That is one asset. Again, go into the insert. Here now, if you want to add one more record, add asset list, one more. So first one is already collapsed. Here it is the second one. Second one, which is now you are required to enter. First one is already filled in. Previously laptop is given. Now we are giving one more. So this record you are giving from, say example, from tomorrow's date, effective tomorrow. You can give that date. So on 9th only one is active. On 10th both are there. Like that you can have effective dating. So now here asset name, if given a company car example, nature as automobile, like this, one car given, date of return, something again next year, choose something, give something, save it. So two assets are there for this employee. When you click on show more, or both the asset records will be shown. First asset and this is the second asset. For the 640 is the number, for the 620 is the number. Something system auto generates that number sequence. We don't have control on it. It's a standard thing. SF says you customer is not required to make any changes on it. It's a standard auto generated. We will not have an option to choose our number range, anything here. Okay, this is an important, this is also one of the question in the certification or even in the interview. If anybody asks you, you can say that this is auto generated. We have no option to control that number sequence at all. It's a auto generation. The data type itself says as auto number. Okay, so this is how, without touching one single line of code in the succession data model XML, we have created a custom MDF portlet using only the MDF concept, and screen designed that it has been placed onto the people profile, and entries are also able to be created. Okay, so in this one point I want to highlight, while practicing, now commonly participants come and ask me that in the configure people profile, when I am trying to add this custom portlet, I dragged and dropped the custom this thing, this live profile information as a block. This one I dragged and dropped it here, but in this drop down of the screen IDs, my screen what I created, that screen ID is not appearing. That is one issue people bring up. The reason is, if you haven't set the data type of the external code field to user in the very first object, in the parent object level, if you forgot to change this external code field to user, that means system still treats this object as only a MDF object, not for employee data storage. Only when you make that system understand that this is going to be used for employee data storage by keeping the code as user, then only that object will appear here on the people profile level. Until then, even if you create everything, that screen what you have designed based on this object will not come here. That screen here, only the screens which are used for employee data storage only system will show automatically. So if you don't, if you see that your screen what you created is not appearing here, the check what you are required to do is go and make sure whether the data type of the external code field in the parent object is changed to user or not. That is why even in the documentation they particularly highlight this. A very important certification question, regular interview question. This is the one. Okay, so this is the reason, and also the reason for association, composite association here in this situation. We linked the parent object level, we done the association definition at the parent object level to the child. In the foundation objects you go to the child object and do it with the parent. Now here in the parent object you done it with the child. Okay, that is why now in the screen on the UI, first on the people profile level, parent field is coming. When you are trying to enter a record, the date as a parent field is coming here. This is a parent. Rest all these are all the child level. So this is a one parent object. Under that, the child object related, the other screen fields coming on the same screen with multiple entries that you can keep on creating. Add asset list, as add asset list, one more you can. That is the way. Okay, so that's why here at the parent object level, you do the association to the child object with composite as an association, which will allow you to create multiple entries, and that same set of entries, so the same set of fields will keep repeating for multiple entries. Any questions here, guys? Anyone? So this is a common requirement, a mandatory requirement that we see in every project actually, because every customer will have one or the other requirement of a custom portlet to store some information that is specific to their organization. Every customer, minimum 1 to maximum 3-4 portlets also we create in a customer system. So for that, this is all what we do. So in our tomorrow's session, we'll discuss on now here in the portlet level. So actually thought of targeting today, but it did not happen. Whenever we were maintaining these assets as laptop, car, all this, it's a free text field. So this laptop, one person can enter it as laptop, other person might add it as laptop with a space, or somebody call it as lappy. Like this, different labels people may give it here. So when you want to take out a report tomorrow, so only for one laptop you will find different names. If you want to filter, there are 100 assets given to different employees. In that, laptops are 40, cameras, company mobiles are 30, like that. So if you choose a filter as laptop, 30 entries should come. 30 laptops are given. But for the laptops itself in the Excel, when you try to filter with lap as one word, laptop as one word, lappy as one word, multiple might be there. So that is where inconsistency of the data happens. So to avoid that, you can have this, instead of a free text, a drop down. What are the regularly given assets in the company? We can have that list created, a drop down. Company car, company laptop, company mobile, company camera, if anything you give it, for any other stationary items of company, you can maintain a drop down list. So user has to select from that list only. So whatever has been given from that list, whatever items, you will have a drop down, select from that. So there is no chance of manual spellings issues and all. Okay, so for how to work on that pick list, which is a drop down concept, pick list in success factors. For standard portlets, how it works, for custom things, how it works, all that is what we'll see tomorrow. We first do it, and followed by we'll also see some employee ESS actions, guys. So what all areas can employee actually edit? What areas HRs only will handle the edit authorizations on the people profile level? So that ESS related activities is also what we'll target tomorrow. Okay. Any questions, gentlemen? Okay, fine guys. So that's all for now. Let's again connect back same time tomorrow. Thank you one and all. Have a nice evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys.